Alrighty, hello everybody. I hope you had a good Christmas wherever it is in the world that you happen to be. I myself actually had a pretty normy Christmas this year. I went over to my family's place and we had like the steak and a dish called ambrosia, and it was all very good. But anyway, the reason for the background mood lighting of like an old-timey prison is we're going to be talking a little bit today about prison in this video. Specifically, we're going to be talking about after prison content and a guy by the name of Wes Watson, whom I made a video about 5 years ago on my old channel, but I'll get to that soon. But first of all, if you're not familiar with it, there's a genre of content on YouTube that really kind of peaked, I would say, in and around 2017 to 19. And basically what it was a bunch of guys who had done time in jail or prison or whatever, and they started these channels where they talked about, how to survive prison, and, they told some war stories from what it was like when they were in the can, and a lot of it was very wholesome, I think most of these guys had good intentions, they just wanted to entertain or prepare guys that might be in the same situation that they were in. The point is they never glorified prison. Okay, at least for the most part, they didn't glorify prison, this early wave of after-prison content creators. But as time went on, you started to see more and more of this new generation of these guys who would just come online and basically just brag about how tough they were and how much how much street cred they had when they were in prison. And they would use prison lingo in all of their videos, and they would talk about how when they were in the can, they weren't a snitch, Snitches get stitches, bro. And let me tell you how tough I was. And a lot of these guys probably never even went to jail. They just wanted to, get in on that grift. And it just became, really trashy as time went on. Anyway, one of the guys that was trying to get on that grift was Wes Watson, the guy you see before you now. Now, I made a video on my old channel 5 years ago, right when this guy was reaching the pinnacle of his popularity. Okay, this guy got some big shout outs before he started his channel. So, I think he began his YouTube channel with quite a big audience, right? And, to his credit, he did display a lot of charisma in the early part of his videos, and he actually looked quite good, He didn't do what so many balding guys do, where they shave their head down to the skin, He rocked the Jason Statham haircut, which, in my opinion, suits balding guys better. And he dressed a lot better. He just looked better in his old videos compared to how he looks in his more recent videos, where he just looks a lot more washed in his more recent videos. And he looks 10 years older, even though it's only been, it's been 6 years, but he just seems to have aged a lot too. Anyway, I know that most of you probably don't care about Wes Watson. Some of you have probably never even heard of this guy, so I'll just cut to the point. So, about 5 years ago, I made a video where I said that this guy, Wes Watson, is he's one of these fake alpha males. He's one of these pseudo alpha males on the internet. I basically said that he's a pseudo tough guy, and he promotes and glorifies prison. All right, he's a criminal basically. All right, guys like Wes Watson are the reason why we live in an increasingly low trust society. So fast forward a few years, and I pretty much at this point had forgotten about Wes Watson. I checked out his channel once a year. I could see he was getting increasingly fewer views, and I was like, yeah, he's had his day. If you're not covering new topics or, talking about current events, then eventually people are just going to grow tired of you, which is why most of those after prison channels have now began talking about current events because, how many times can you talk about how to make a tattoo gun? But anyway, so what happened is Wes Watson, he began to kind of diversify by going deeper into the manosphere, and he started talking about, all of the fancy cars he owns, and he started what we used to call CEOing it up, okay? He started CEOing it up and began selling courses about how you too can become an alpha male just like him. Anyway, so fast forward until a few months ago. Actually, I'm not sure when this happened. This video was posted about 7 months ago, but I think the original happened sometime earlier. He's now become like a Manosphere speaker, and he's at one of the, Donovan Sharp's goofy imitation of 21 Studios where, a bunch of guys in the audience pay thousands of dollars to listen to a bunch of YouTubers talk about becoming a Sigma male, how to get on your grind set, bro. Anyway, so Wes Watson is speaking at this masculinity conference, and the thing about guys like Wes Watson is they are bullies, right? Like, Wes Watson is a natural bully. And of course, like most bullies, they go after people they think are weaker than themselves or whatever. He bragged about being a shot caller in prison. It's the same, you're familiar with that mentality, right? But the thing about guys like Wes is that sometimes they think they've got an easy target, right? Like, he'll be in prison and he'll see a guy come in who's kind of skinny, who doesn't seem to have any friends with him, and they think, oh, that's an easy target to go after and, steal his commissary or something. But, unbeknownst to them, the skinny guy has actually just come from the psych ward and has a razor beneath his tongue, and they end up, biting off more than they can chew. Nearly every bully will have that happen to them at least once. And so Wes Watson is on stage at the Fresh and Fit conference, and a guy by the name of Andrew Wilson is speaking. Andrew Wilson, who now runs a YouTube channel called The Crucible. Now, whatever you think of Andrew Wilson, okay, he is no pushover, okay? He's not some liberal soy boy who's, the kind of guy that Wes thought he was dealing with. All right. Andrew Wilson is a pretty fierce debater, and he'll go below the belt, if he needs to. But in this debate, he didn't even have to go below the belt, because everything that Andrew says in this video, and this is why I wanted to talk about this today, everything that Andrew Wilson says during this interaction with Wes Watson is correct. Now, I'm going to play some of this video, okay? Now, I'm not going to keep pausing it. I'm just going to let it play for a bit, and then I'll talk about it after each segment, okay? Because I don't want to take away the context by interrupting it, okay? I want you to get it in its full glory. So let's have a look.
My definition of success is across the board. If you're not ripped, if you're not rich, if you ain't rare, if you don't stand out, if you ain't across the board successful, it doesn't mean fucking shit to me. If you got straight tits and you're in your Rolls Royce, you look like a fucking clown to me. But this whole thing, people don't think I'm going to put the measuring stick to their motherfucking face. They better just watch what they say around a motherfucker who's beating them in every area. You better have a bad bitch. You better be ripped. You better fucking be rolling some sick shit. That's what I like. I grew up hustling. There's be rims on my goddamn Phantom. Go out front.
All right, so hopefully you get the idea of what kind of a guy Wes Watson is, okay? Hopefully you're getting his overall vibe. In fact, he reminds me a lot of modern life dating, right? Like, make money, make muscles, make game. They all have the same script, these guys. And Wes Watson has got it down to a fine art. But he's about to be challenged by Andrew Wilson, or not even challenged by Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson is going to give his philosophy on life. And as you're about to see, Andrew Wilson is just an ordinary guy. And Wes Watson is going to challenge him, and it's going to backfire spectacularly.
It's okay to have materialism. It's not against Christian ethics to become rich, become wealthy. But I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately. You're trying to go for a single thing, and it's to achieve something greater than
money?
The person.
Does he have money?
No.
Do you have money?
No, I don't have.
How much money do you have?
I don't have money. But here's the thing. Why is money valuable?
Do you have money?
What is money valuable for?
I'm just asking. Do you have money?
I just told no. I'm broke. I'm a nobody.
No, but really, you are?
Yeah.
Is he really broke?
Yeah.
I just want to know. I have to know.
No, I'm not. I'm not one of these rich guys. I don't have a Bugatti. I don't have a Lambo.
I just really have to know. Like, how much money you got?
Probably $5 in my pocket. Not much more.
See, can anyone answer for the guy?
Why do they think I'm kidding? I have a family. I take care of an entire family. That takes a lot of money.
He's doing all right. Okay,
but okay.
This is the thing, you guys. If you ain't fit, you can't say it's not all about being being in good
Why-
shape.
why not?
If you don't have money, you can't say it's not all about money.
Yeah, why
But
not?
if he does have money, he can say that.
Why not?
He
Why can't you say? Why must you have the thing
Because
before you? Hang on. Let me ask the question.
Because hypothetical is
Let me ask the
hypocritical.
question. Let me ask the question.
Hypothetical is hypocritical.
How do you even know what I was going to say before I've even been allowed
Because
to
I know
ask
what
the
you're
question?
gonna say.
Then what was I going to say?
You're going to say, why can't you ask the question?
Okay, so that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is, how in the world can you create a standard that it's inappropriate to ask somebody, how come if I don't have X thing, because I don't value X thing, does that mean X thing is actually valuable?
You've never experienced it, so you can't speak about
You
it.
think that I haven't experienced wealth? Even
I
poor
was
people,
asking if you did.
Even poor people experience days of wealth.
I was
They
asking
can-
if you
even
did.
poor
I don't know
people-
who you are.
But even poor people experience days of wealth. And so the thing is
No,
it's
definitely not. Definitely not.
Definitely
No,
so.
not.
All right, so it starts off fairly civil. They're just talking. Wes Watson is giving his stump speech about how real men, real alpha males do alpha male stuff, like, I don't know, buy a Lamborghini, go to prison, take anabolics, So Wes Watson's just, being him. And Andrew Wilson comes along and is just basically Andrew Wilson is a regular guy just talking about wanting to raise a family and living a humble life. And this triggers something in Wes Watson. So all of a sudden, Wes Watson just starts chimping out.
Definitely so.
I've lived the lowest lows and the highest highs.
Well, what's the distinction? After you make X amount, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you look at these studies done on this, it does not.
I don't
hugely,
fit no
It
studies,
does not
bro.
hugely improve a person's life.
Are you proud of who the you are?
Why
Well,
don't
look
you
at,
even
are
let
you
me
proud?
get-
If you look in the mirror, would you guys say this motherfucker's proud of who the he is? That's a bag of trash, dude. Pull your fucking shirt
Because
off
I've
and
been-
tell me you're fucking proud
Because
of yourself.
I've been to prison?
Jesus Christ,
Because
look
I've been
at
to
you,
prison?
bro. You got 10-inch arms and tits. Men don't have tits. you
No,
guys.
they go to prison where they get fucking
Fuck yeah,
where
they
get
do.
raped up the ass.
You've never been to prison. Look,
That's
he's talking
what
about shit you
happens.
don't know.
Sorry, I had to edit quite a bit of it out because Wes Watson just starts hardcore spurging out and whatnot. But long story short, Wes Watson is essentially making fun of Andrew Wilson for having not gone to prison, which is literally what I said 5 years ago. Okay, I said 5 years ago that this guy glorifies prison. He's just a criminal, and he's an empty vessel. Okay, he's one of these people that only cares about showing off their wealth. And I remember his little fanboys got up in my comment section nah, man, Wes Watson's put prison behind him, man. He's moved on, man. He doesn't promote prison. I was like, no, he is. He's still a criminal.
Real men getting jacked in the penitentiary, coming out to the street just slung with that ink that scares motherfuckers on the street because they're walking vaginas with their tampons falling out.
But yeah, there's so much lore to this guy, Wes Watson, that I could go into. You could do a documentary about him, but I don't want to go into too much detail. It's just nice that the normies, after all of these years, all these years later, discovered this guy and decided to cover him. And of course, now he's having meltdowns in every single one of his videos, spurging out, doing the whole it kind of reminds me of Tonka Saw from back in the day. He's doing the whole IRL thing, fight me IRL. If you have the balls to call me out in a video, then why don't you come to my gym and confront me? That sort of stuff. I know that most of you probably some of you have probably never heard of this guy, and some of you have maybe barely heard of him, let alone following this kind of stuff. But yeah, the reason why I think he intrigued me right from the get-go is that he's a microcosm of every dogmatic community on the internet that's totally just impervious to any sort of criticism of their dogma, right? I've been seeing it for years, right? An idea will pop up, a community will pop up around an idea, a lifestyle, whatever. And anyone who gives the slightest bit of criticisms, gets dogpiled and told that they're a beta male. Like right now as we speak, he's probably in the Instagram comment section of a steak cut video, calling guys beta males if they have their steak done more than medium well. He is a microcosm. He is emblematic of every single alpha douchebag channel on the internet. All right, If you've ever been in like a community of anything and you kind of agreed with it at the beginning, but as time went on, it became increasingly dogmatic, and you sort of spoke up and said, like, hey, I think we might have lost the plot a bit here, guys, and you got dogpiled. You just got dogpiled by Wes Watson. Like, I remember a few years ago, I saw a video on NoFap, and the guy was like, NoFap has all these benefits, and it also gives you spiritual power, is what they said. So I made a video sort of just kind of dunking on it, and that video got like 400 downvotes within a day. 400 downvotes from Wes Watson. Okay, he's just one man, but he is millions of men, is Wes Watson. All right, he is every single person that you've ever argued with on the internet, made flesh. And that's why he's so interesting. And lastly, what I'll say about this guy is that he's not even a good example of what he pretends to be. Okay, because if you're not familiar with the confidence trickster, you should be. Knowledge is power. Okay, I've never been taken in by these guys because I knew what they were from the very first time I saw it. It's a Ponzi scheme. Okay, these guys have existed since time immemorial. Okay, here's what they do. They go up on stage and they say, I am a millionaire. Okay, I'm a self-made millionaire, and I can teach you how to become a millionaire, but it's going to cost you a small fee to get started. So people are taken in by the trick, by the confidence trick, so they start giving the confidence trickster money, because they want to get rich too. And slowly over time, the confidence trickster unironically becomes quite wealthy by tricking people into thinking they're wealthy. So they unironically become wealthy. And then they get an ego, and they start telling you that if you're not as rich as what they are, then you're a loser, you're a beta, okay? That's Wes Watson. Okay, all he did was make money from people after he got out of prison by telling people that he's rich. And thousands of idiots gave him money. And for a while, he was making money.
So Wes Watson is your generic ChatGPT AI spit out life coach where he doesn't actually do anything. He just asks people to give him money and he tells them that they're going to be successful for doing it. That's his whole life. He just takes money from people and buys cars with it and then yells in his cars about why he needs more money to teach more people to become millionaires. He has a whole channel dedicated to just whining to his followers about giving him money, how he needs more money. He is literally just a dominatrix that desperate dudes will pay and think that somehow they're going to make money from it or he's going to impart wisdom on them. Meanwhile, Wes doesn't actually have a business. His business is looking for pay piggies that will pay him under the ruse that he's going to give them life advice, but he openly mocks them for doing it too. It's this like crazy cycle.
Yeah, that's 100% correct about Wes Watson. And the thing is, right, is that he's not even doing well at the things that he defines himself as being, right? Like, he will tell you that, you're a total beta loser if you're not dating a hot chick, right? But meanwhile, his girlfriend looks like that. All right, this is the guy that will tell you that you're a beta if you don't have a bad bitch by your side. Like, bro. Okay, first of all, she's a single mother of 3 kids when he met her. Or at least that's what I read anyway. I think I only kind of skim read what was going on in his personal life. But apparently he's got an ex-wife and now a new wife, and they're both, hideous or whatever. So I don't know. The point is, right, though, he's failing miserably at every single metric that he criticizes other men for, right? Like, Andrew Wilson did have a little bit of a dad bod at the time of that Fresh and Fit conference, but, comparing them today, I think I'd rather just look like Andrew Wilson. Like, he looks like a regular, just a regular guy in his 30s or 40s. Like, I actually think I'd rather look like him. Wes looks like he spent 2 decades in prison. He looks like a guy who is on a copious amount of vitamin S. And he's got back knee, he's got sun damage. He looks like he's got deep vein thrombosis. Like, I would rather look like Andrew Wilson straight up. But anyway, oh man, I should go back to roasting red pillars, man. But yeah, it is catch-22 because it's like people like Wes are bad people, right? But you gotta question the people that give money to people like that. Like, did you guys know? How many of you know about the Hawk Tour scam recently? Like, you have to look at the people who give Haley Welsh money and just be like, bro, that's Darwinism right there. Like, yeah, it's a scummy thing to do what they did, but does there come a point where you're just like, you know what, there's so many stupid people on the internet. Like, at what point do you develop the Leonardo DiCaprio mindset from The Wolf of Wall Street, where you're just like, you know what, their money is better in my pocket because I know how to spend it better than they do. Like, does there come a point where you just go full on Ayn Rand and just be like, you know what, to hell with these people. They're suckers. I'm going to take their money because it's the morally superior thing for me to have it. All right. I'm not even saying that's what I believe. I'm not saying that's what my morality would dictate. I think the morally acceptable way to become not wealthy, but to make money on the internet, just put on a good show or make money from subscriptions or ad revenue. You don't need to scam your followers, but I can sort of see how one would get to that point. Anyway, that's about it, really. I suppose the moral of the story is, most of your success in life comes down to two things, okay? It comes from luck and grinding it out, all right? It's probably 70% luck and 30% grinding it out, okay? Like, take being a professional, like, musician, for example. That's a simple metaphor, right? Like, becoming like a famous musician. The luck is being born with a good singing voice and, hopefully photogenic enough that you look good on video, right? Being born with a good singing voice, which is purely just luck, and having the good looks and charisma to also be a performer on stage, right? I suppose you can work a little bit on the performance element, but a lot of being a good singer is just down to pure luck. And the other sort of percentage is grinding it out, okay? Spending years in a band that falls apart. A lot of famous musicians spent 10 years doing karaoke or, doing like low-key singing events. And a lot of the time it was easy for them to give up, but they grinded it out. They just hung in there, and eventually they got discovered, they got a contract, whatever. Not in every case. There are people that just got lucky, Justin Bieber. But, success is usually luck and grinding it out. And anyone who tells you differently is probably just trying to take your money. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't even normally talk about, someone like Wes Watson anymore. Because it's going after Wes it's kind of like going after Andrew Tate. It's low-hanging fruit, right? It's what the normies talk about. He's such an easy target, like one of these fake alpha males that's obviously insecure. I would normally consider this to be beneath me to talk about, but it's only because I talked about him all those years ago. And, now I come back all these years later, and there are videos with millions of views roasting him. It's like, oh, I was the first one, and no one will ever know. Anyway, the final thing I'll say before I wrap this video up is that it's not just Wes Watson, it's all of the guys on stage, okay? It's all of the guys on stage, all of the motivational pomp that these guys add to their content. The pretending to be millionaires and billionaires and everything, and pretending that they've got something to teach you about making money. All of it comes from you giving them money, okay? It's all a Ponzi scheme, okay? None of these guys have ever run businesses at all, okay? None of them. Their only business is ad revenue and collecting super chats and, Patreon. Okay, all of the bling that they display, all of the tattoos, the Lambos, the yachts and everything. If you look at Fresh and Fit, there's photos of them on the yacht and everything. Now, Fresh and Fit, I'm not having a go at them per se, but there's a lot of these guys. Modern Life Dating is another one. There's thousands of them on Instagram. They will pretend to be living this high life, like they've discovered the secret to money as they sell courses, but all of their money just comes from you giving them money, which is perfectly fine if that's all you sell yourself as. There are channels I watch, like, the Kino Casino, where they'll they'll roast themselves as being grifters, but it's like, you're not a grifter if you just put on a show and collect super chats, all right, and make memes out of how much money you're making from donations. That's not grifting because you're just putting on a show and people are donating to it. But if you pretend to be like a millionaire businessman who can teach others how to become millionaires when all of your money comes from simps, the straight male version of OnlyFans for dudes, that's a grift, okay? That's definitely a grift. And even then, it doesn't bother me so much, okay? Okay, whatever, you're a grifter, right? But what does bother me, like, genuinely, and again, to use modern life dating, Wes Watson, those kinds of examples, is when they look down and they spit upon people that aren't making as much money as them. They drink their own Kool-Aid and think that you're a loser if you're not making as much money as they are. They actually develop an ego about this type of thing. It's the ego that's the most aggravating. The fact that Wes Watson, every cent he's ever earned comes from his pay pigs, and he has the nerve to look down on people who aren't grifting like he is. Okay, it's so full of arrogance. It's grotesque.
I'm famous, motherfucker. Everybody knows who I am. I'm admired by and respected by men and wanted by most women. I mean, you guys don't get that.